So with us today is Nicola Morgan, a multi-award winning author and expert on teenage brains. Thank you for being with us here today.
Thank you for inviting me.
So what got you interested in teenagers' psychology?
A chapter of coincidences, really. I was a teacher. I was an English teacher a long time ago. And by chance, the school where I was teaching had a lot of children with reading difficulties, dyslexia and things like that. And so I then retrained to be more expert in that. And part of the training for that was to look at what might be different in the brain of someone with dyslexia compared to someone without. And at that stage, so we're talking about the 1990s, early mid-1990s, we didn't really know very much about what might be different about the brains, but that triggered an interest in the brain. Then I carried on teaching people with dyslexia, continued to be interested in the brain. But then I became what I really wanted to be, which was a novelist for teenagers. So I was doing that. And then, a few years into that, my editor asked me if I'd like to write some non-fiction. And I said yes. And she said, well, what would you like to write about? And by chance, I had just come across, because I was still following all of the science, I had just come across this brand new research, so we're talking about 2001 or 2, I think, that hadn't been written about outside the scientific community, to show that there were some surprising differences in teenage brains. And so because I was already writing novels for teenagers, and because my two daughters were teenagers at the time, it seemed like the obvious and exciting thing to do. So I then began the research into that, and that became my book, Blame My Brain, which was published in 2005. And from then on, I've kind of grown into the person who everyone knows is really fascinated by teenagers and teenage stress and everything that impacts teenagers. And during that time, so between 2008 or 9 and 2013, the whole problem of teenage stress blew up, really, at least in the UK and the US, and has continued to be a recognised problem in countries all around the world.